Hello, everyone. How's it going? Thank you for joining the masterclass, iHealth Masterclass. If everyone could just post in the chat that they can hear me okay. Everything seems to be coming through from my end. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for joining in. Beautiful. Amy, you can hear me. Melissa, hello. Looking forward to talking health with you all a little bit. I know sometimes it's hard to find the right group of people where you can really talk about this stuff openly and get excited about it too. So thank you to all of you for chiming in and becoming part of the bigger conversation. It's awesome that you're all interested in improving your health and well-being. Just wait for a few more people to chime in over the next minute. Hope everyone's been having a good day. If you're down here in Melbourne, there was a bit of sun in the last 15 minutes of the day, which was nice. Hello, Gal from Victoria. I can't see you, but I'm sure you're looking great. Everyone in Sydney, I think there's some bad weather up there. Hope you guys are doing okay. In WA, you guys always have sun, so enjoy that. Today, we're going to be talking about inflammation, which is an exciting topic. Exciting because there's lots of ways that we can deal with it without having to go too crazy into difficult things that are hard to achieve. Hello, Mel. Horrible weather. That's a bummer. Give everyone a couple more minutes. Chime in, say hello, and then we'll get into it. Grab some water, sit down, relax. Maybe someone's watching this webinar in their sauna. That would be cool. I thought about doing this webinar in the sauna, but I didn't think anyone would want to see that, so we decided not to do that. Hello, Ben. Hope you're having a good day. Just about one more minute and then we'll get into it. And again, thank you all for chiming in. Really appreciate it. We're excited to be bringing you lots of great information moving forward and building that community about sauna, but also that community about helping people get their health back on track and, even improve their health beyond that, maintain our health and enjoy doing along the way. Hello, Craig. So we'll get into it. Today, obviously, welcome to iHealth Masterclass. Today we are talking about inflammation, which is very exciting. We're going to be covering a lot of things from the history of inflammation through to a few health myths that we're brought up to believe that lead us down the wrong path and are related to inflammation. We're going to get into what inflammation really means. If we're inflamed, what's actually going on? We're going to get into some of the mechanisms associated with that. And we're going to get into what actually causes inflammation. And then we're going to talk about some fun stuff on how to reduce inflammation in the body, how to heal the body, and how to, most importantly, have fun whilst doing it. So let's get into it. Before we start, I just want to say I am going to be giving away a peppermint essential oil, which is great for energizing in the sauna, reoxygenating the body. And so the competition is the first person who can name this plant, and this plant. First person to name all three, I'll get in touch. We'll mail you an essential oil, beautiful Young Living essential oil. I'll give you a clue. All three of these plants are very good at releasing oxygen back into my office here, which is really important for me. So a little bit of fun there. Have a bit of a think about what plants these are. So let's get into it. First of all, just a little bit about who I am. My name is Alex Tyson. I'm one of the business owners here at iHealth Saunas. And as most of you probably know, my lovely mum and dad began helping people with infrared saunas 15 years ago. 15 years ago, I was 10. Yes, do the math. I was pretty young. And it was about 10 years ago when iHealth Saunas was founded. And we just had a small sauna in the family home. People would come in to use the sauna. And I learned a couple things throughout this process. The first thing was these people would always come in and it was always the same person. They're coming in, they're hunched over, they're a bit gray, they've got their hand on their back, they're kind of not very alive. In fact, they were kind of looking like death most of the time. And through seeing these people day in, day out come into our house to try the sauna, I learned these people drank too much alcohol. They didn't eat the right foods, probably KFC before they rocked up. They didn't exercise enough or at all. They weren't doing things they enjoyed, and they perhaps didn't have the best relationships in their family. And they were doing that for 20, 30 years, and now they're rocking up in our house looking like crap, basically. And what that said to me and what got my brain started ticking was, well, I don't want to be like that. You know, I want to have kids and be live and vibrant and live a great life and not have to be like that person or this person or that person walking in. And so it got the brain ticking. Well, these are all the things they're doing, so I'm not going to do those. And the second thing I was always left thinking was, well, what are my parents doing to them in the bedroom downstairs? Because these people are walking out with a smile on their face when they came in looking like absolute crap. And it was the sauna that was getting the body working and getting the circulation moving, the oxygen going, you know, norepinephrine, dopamine in the bloodstream. They came out feeling great because the sauna was getting their body working for the first time in some cases 10, 15 years. And so then the real light bulb went off. Okay, there's really something to these saunas. Fast forward 5 years, when I was 20, still a young bloke, and I did my first juice fast. And it was like I did 5 days, just cold pressed juice, water. I think I even did an enema in there. Let's not get into that today. And it was like, ding, I am alive now. What have I just done? 20 years not feeling like this. It was like the veil of existence had been pulled from my eyes, and now I was experiencing life. 5 days of all those micronutrients coming into the body, detoxing the crap out. I felt really, really good. And I was clearer. Had more clarity. I had more energy. And so it was really from then on where I devoted my life to wanting to then continue to level up in my health. You know, all throughout high school, I was the kid having salads, thank you, mum, while everyone else was having hot dogs. And it was always an underlying part of my life. But once I did that juice fast, everything changed. Fast forward to now where, you know, I've probably done 45 days worth of juice fast. I've done a 9-day water fast, just water and salt. I haven't got it here, but I got a photo of me at the top of a mountain after a water fast for 3 days, and learning about how amazing this is, this body, this gift. And I believe we're all here in some way, shape or form because we want to look after this. And we understand that if we do that, everything in life will be better. And I can assure you it 100% will be. So that's why I'm here to deliver this message to you and to help other people learn what I've learned in this time. And one of the key insights, which we'll get into later, is it's actually pretty simple to really nourish this. You just need to prioritize it. So that's a bit about who I am now. We're just about to get to the inflammation. I know everyone's keen. I just want to mention 2 more things. One, it's always important to know that the divinely healthy on this earth, they still have health challenges just like you or just like me. I've done a lot of cleansing over my life, a lot of detoxing. I've had a lot of crappy moments, sometimes quite literally crap moments. And, it swings, and sometimes you're really, really healthy and sometimes you go back a little bit, and that's okay. You know, this is a process, and it's important to not be hard on yourself no matter what you're doing. Maybe you're just trying to lose an extra kilo. Maybe you're trying to rid yourself of arthritis. Whatever it is, give yourself a pat on the back. You're here, and you're giving it a go. And that's the biggest thing. Just, getting on it. So just be aware of that. Second thing is we might cover a couple of things that perhaps might rub you the wrong way. Perhaps it's against what you've been led to believe, and maybe you've gone down a path which is different to what I'm suggesting or talking about. I, from the bottom of my heart, don't mean to offend anyone. I'm just giving my knowledge on how to deal with these issues, in this case specifically inflammation in the body. If you've been down that path with no success, perhaps that's the reason that you're here tuning in now or wherever you're listening to this. Maybe that's why it's come across your path. So anyway, we won't get too spiritual there, but I don't mean to offend anyone. And I really hope that this message and information lands with some people. And if we can just help someone feel 5% better for 10 minutes, then my job is done. So let's get into it. Firstly, the history of inflammation. Well, the history of inflammation is that 100 years ago, there wasn't any. And quite is often the way with any sort of chronic illness, acute illness like a broken bone. Well, people have been breaking bones for a long time. And it's very easy to fix a broken bone. Chronic illness, the Western medicine isn't great at dealing with. And we're now at all-time highs of diabetes, cancer, heart disease, arthritis, fibromyalgia, osteoarthritis, all these sort of nasty diseases. And there's no pill to fix them because that's not the way the body works, as much as we've been led to believe perhaps otherwise. So 150 years ago, there were no reports of inflammation in people. If so, it was an acute case. It wasn't chronic lasting 10 years. It just wasn't a thing. And if we reflect why that is, it's pretty clear how the world's changed over the last 100 years. We've gone through the Industrial Revolution. We brought chemicals and all of these unknowns into our environment. Now we're breathing in chemicals every day. We're brushing our teeth with chemicals. Mercury's been passed down from our parents who were exposed to DDT. All of this stuff is part of our life now. And then on top of that, they're creating concoctions within our body where I might be subject to certain chemicals that my next door neighbor might have been subject to something different. And our body isn't built to deal with all of that. And therefore, things start to go wrong. And we'll talk a little bit later about heavy metals and the relation to inflammation. Now there's links between ADHD and metals like mercury, for example. Again, inflammation connected with those sort of things. And over that time, we've also started eating not whole foods. We don't eat whole foods anymore. We eat fake foods where we're all dehydrated. We're not eating right. We're sitting in an office for 8 hours a day and we're not moving. No wonder our body's starting to tell us something's going wrong, because we're not living the way that our body, requires to sustain this in a healthy environment for a long time. So all of that stuff culminates in all of these serious diseases being high and ripe amongst the community, which is really unfortunate. And we're not brought up with the education on what that means and how to handle that. And again, that's why we're here. So the history of inflammation wasn't there. Now it's a thing. Now we need to deal with it. To be able to deal with it, we need to learn a few sort of things that have come up that perhaps lead us down the wrong path. So I just want to cover a few of those myths and things to be aware of in terms of inflammation, but your health in general. First one being inflammation as cause. We get told that we have arthritis. What's arthritis? We hear about inflammation. Okay, cool. So then we just go on the how do I reduce inflammation path, and we've got turmeric tea coming out of our ears and, all of these remedies and all of this kind of stuff. And inflammation isn't actually the cause. It is a symptom of a greater problem. Arthritis, actually, the word itis is Greek for inflammation or inflamed, so inflamed joint. Or you think of something like bronchitis or gastritis. Bronchitis is inflammation of the bronchioles. That doesn't mean that there's a problem with the bronchioles. It means that the symptom is inflamed bronchioles. Why? And that's the real cause of what's actually going on there. It's not a problem with the bronchioles. That is just a symptom. Same thing with arthritis. Inflammation is there as a response to what is happening in the body. The body is responding to an issue, which is inflammation is the way that it's responding, but inflammation isn't the cause. So we can go and eat all the turmeric that we want, which is good because it helps, and we'll get into the things that we can do to help reduce the pain. But the pain is a symptom of a greater issue, a greater bodily sort of mechanism that's happening. So it's important to know that inflammation isn't actually the problem. It's just a symptom the problem. I hope that's kind of making a little bit of sense. The second thing is autoimmunity, and this comes up a little bit with inflammation as well, especially people who have been dealing with inflammation for a long time. Autoimmunity is something that's kind of on trend, and generally when something's kind of a recent thing that people don't quite understand in Western medicine, that's probably because the people don't actually know what the real problem is, and autoimmunity is one way to sort of palm that off and put it in a box and, okay, well, now we know what that is, so cool, when actually it leaves people without many answers and feeling like their body has turned on itself, which the body doesn't do. The body is always going is to maximum lengths to support you. Our body is this amazing being that all it wants to do is thrive, and it just does the best with what resources it has. The body doesn't say, oh, I'm just going to start attacking the thyroid, for example. Autoimmunity always comes up with the thyroid, or autoimmunity to do with inflammation. Like, the body doesn't just start attacking the joints. The body is doing its utmost to try and keep this working, and so autoimmunity just doesn't make sense. And yeah, I don't want to get too into that, but it is a thing, and it's worth being aware that our body is on our side. It's not going to turn on us. Arthritis isn't the body just given up. Our body didn't just wake up one morning and say, I want to give you pain for the next 10 years. And so the body's always dealing with what it has, and sometimes that means negative symptoms are going to show up. Classic example, osteoporosis. So our body has to stay at the same amount, or there's like a level of hydration it can come down to as a percentage, and then below that you're going to cark over and die. And so as a mechanism to deal with dehydration in the body, if the body isn't getting enough hydration in, it's not having hydrating foods, maybe there's some diuretics coming in, like some coffee or some alcohol, which is dehydrating it further. The body has to get that hydration from somewhere. And so where does it go? Well, it goes to the bones, it goes to the ligaments, it goes to the skin, and it's pulling that hydration in to keep the body functioning. Mainly it's going to the brain, right? And so what we find is that after chronic dehydration of 10, 20, 30, it's often after 40 years, people start to have symptoms and develop osteoporosis, because the body has been pulling water and minerals. The minerals and the salts help balance the alkalinity of the body. It's been pulling all that out of the bone. Do that for 40 years, we start to run into some problems. Osteoporosis, for example. And so that isn't the body, that's not a problem. That's just the body trying to keep you alive, And so coming back to that autoimmunity, the body never attacks itself. It's it's just going to the next stage of trying to keep you alive and on this planet. It's important to know that. Another case, thyroid peroxidase, TPO, is always raised in people who, with thyroid conditions. That isn't the body attacking the thyroid. That is the body actually protecting the thyroid from viral infection. Even things as far as cysts on the thyroid or PCOS, that's the body protecting those areas from infection. And what happens is, after a long time of sending these antibodies to these areas, calcium deposits build up. Hello, we've got a cyst. And then unfortunately we go and cut it out and deal with the problem another way. So I hope that's coming across and landing with some of you. Moving forward, genetics as well is something that come up with inflammation a lot. There's some studies coming out now showing that inflammation is related to your DNA. And this is super, super dangerous, because it puts us in a state of, oh, well, I can't do anything about it. I know people whose parents have been diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and they say, oh yeah, my mum had Alzheimer's, so I'm probably going to get it. And then that's it, and that couldn't be further from the truth. All of these chronic illnesses can be handled and looked after and healed, and we can, be healthy and thrive. And again, similar to autoimmunity, it's easy to just put that in a box. Oh, it's genetic, so now I can't do anything about it, poor me. And that's not the way the body works. There is some exciting stuff coming out of genetic science at the moment, epigenetics, where our cells come into contact with celery juice, their gene expression changes, compared with if it was coming into contact with some KFC or some McDonald's. And over time, that can change how our body reacts to things. That's very exciting. But putting the blame on your DNA as to why you have a problem, especially a chronic illness, is not the path forward. So just be aware of that. And yeah, let's keep on moving. So what's actually happening when we're inflamed? Well, it's pretty simple. Our body is trying to heal. Quite often inflammation comes up in people who are a bit older. That's because these things take time to register. When we have inflammation in the body, our body is saying, hey, there's something going wrong. Okay. In fact, it's been going wrong for a while, but there hasn't been enough buildup of inflammation for you to feel it. But now you do feel it. The body is asking to be healed and to be looked after and to be put first for once. Once this inflammation builds up, this can result in pain. And as I was saying earlier, this inflammation is a symptom of something greater. It's the body's response to a problem. It's not the cause itself. So what causes inflammation? Well, in an acute sense, if I bung my knee's going to swell up. It's not going to swell up because our body said, oh, well, you don't need that anymore. I'm just going to be annoying for a week. It's going to swell up because the body needs to get as much fluid and nutrients and, white blood cells and all of this stuff to help fix that problem right in that acute spot, right? So in an acute sense, inflammation is, the body's just sending everything there. It swells up and then the body heals itself, you get better. In a chronic sense, there's a few conditions, associated with, actually causing inflammation. So the root cause, one of them being a virus in the body. So a virus in the body can result in inflammation as the body tries to kill the virus. Classic example I'm reading a bit about at the moment is Epstein-Barr virus, which is actually part of the herpes virus, different sort of strain. And the way Epstein-Barr virus works is it gets in the bloodstream first. It starts to cause havoc. Your body puts out an immune response and it pushes the Epstein-Barr virus down. The Epstein-Barr virus is pretty smart and then goes into your liver, and then your body sends all of the immune response to the liver, and we start to see some inflammation there. Then it moves from the liver to the thyroid, and the thyroid to the nervous system and so on. Pretty scary stuff, actually. But during that process, which can happen over 10 or 15 years, we're going to see inflammatory responses from the body as it tries to kill off that virus. So that is one cause, and EBV is just one example. Viruses are very, very common form of actually causing an inflammatory response in the body. Second one, and I bang on about this too much, but is chronic dehydration of the body. As I was saying earlier, we get dehydrated and the body has to find hydration from somewhere else, So I'm drinking some water now. Let's say this is my first glass for the day. My body is going to use that first, but then it's going to say, well, actually, Alex, I need another 2.75 liters. So I need to find that from somewhere else, or at least find the bare minimum. What often happens is this comes out of the blood, the skin, but the ligaments and the bones. And over time, as this hydration comes out, it stops the, sorry, I just noticed the time. I'm going to speed this up. So it stops the lubrication between the ligament and the joints. And then over time, that lubrication disappears and the cells start to die off. The body then sends, there's an inflammatory response to try and heal those dead cells. But over time, actually, the hydration gets pulled out of the bone and closes up. And then the body says, well, there's all these dead cells in there. We need to start rebuilding the bone. And so it starts to rebuild the bone. Hello, we've got rheumatoid arthritis and our fingers start to grow in all different directions. That's a very technical mechanism condensed into about 10 seconds there. But what's happening is we've pulled the hydration out and then the body starts to do some weird things. Once the bone starts to grow and fill up, then the cells actually can't get into that original site to lubricate the ligament and the bone. And so we start to have a buildup of inflammation around these areas, hence general arthritis. So dehydration is a really, really big one, and also probably the easiest thing that we can address, drinking more water. Second one is a burden of toxins. So we obviously come into contact with toxins every day. You walk past the steam cleaner, you got benzene coming in. You walk down the freeway, you got lead coming in. You know, it's pretty nasty. It's pretty serious, which is why I've all chosen an iHealth sauna, which is great. And our body can only, you know, look after so much of this, and it can only eliminate so much of this. And so it has to put the rest in a protective mechanism, basically. It wraps these toxins up in fat, stores them in our subcutaneous layer, and they stay there for a long time. Now, if toxins keep coming in, then they're going to build up over time. And then at some stage, there's going to be a large amount. The body says, well, we've got to start to move this stuff out. Starts to get things moving. We start to have build up of inflammation. This can happen in the joints. It can happen in the fat. It can happen in the muscle. And it can get pretty nasty, actually, specifically with heavy metals and so on and so forth. So a burden of toxins, again, another root cause to those inflammatory responses. Moving forward as well, inflammation of the brain. Those who don't get good quality sleep will not be clearing out the beta amyloid plaque in the brain, which gets cleared specifically in deep sleep. Over time, this is going to build up. The body's going to want to clear that stuff out, and we're going to get inflammation. There's links here between Alzheimer's, poor sleep, inflammation of the brain, and there's a lot of stuff to do with blood-brain barrier and heavy metals, mercury getting in the way as well. So, yeah, some sleep is related to some inflammatory responses in the brain too. So I'm moving forward. I am definitely going to be going over time. So if you need to go. I hope you're all getting some value, but I'm moving fairly quickly. So now we understand some root causes here: viruses, dehydration, toxins, you know, inflammation in the brain, and why that is. Again, it's toxin related. So how do we actually reduce the pain, the symptom of inflammation? And then we'll get into how do we deal with those causes. So we understand that the inflammation is a symptom, but we would like to reduce some pain whilst we're dealing with the real cause. So how can we do that? Well, everyone knows about the turmeric. The active ingredient, curcumin in turmeric, is very powerful at inhibiting inflammatory markers. People have it in teas. People take turmeric pills. You know, I'm one for taking it naturally. Just eat some turmeric, some black pepper on that, makes it more bioavailable. Just chuck it in a salad, chuck it in a pasta. It's great. Make it in a cold pressed juice even. I do that. Tastes delicious. We all know that one, so get on that. Movement is super, super important. We are a body that is designed to move. That's why we have all these beautiful joints and we can do all of these crazy yoga poses and all this fun stuff. Movement is key. That's going to increase our circulation. That's going to get oxygen-rich blood into the joints, into the muscles, and it's going to help move that inflammation out of these sites. If I have problems because I'm dehydrated and my joints are all dried up, and my body's sending all of this inflammatory response to these joints, and then I'm just sitting there like this all day, you know, not really moving, it's just going to build up more. So if we keep on moving, you know, we're a body of tubes, everything needs to flow. Let's keep on moving this body. Go for a walk once an hour when you're sitting at your computer, like set a reminder in your phone. I actually do that to get myself outside and breathe some oxygen. We'll talk about some breathing in a minute. So keep on moving. That's going to just help your body move stuff out, clear stuff out, and help reduce that inflammation. Epsom salts in the bath are a great way at calming the nervous system. Generally, heat is good, partly because the mechanism is you're increasing the circulation. Epsom salts are good. Also, just general salts are going to help balance that hydration, as we've already spoken about. Super, super important. And then obviously infrared sauna. Again, we're getting that circulation moving, and we clearing, you know, reducing the burden of toxins on the body. So get in that sauna. And if for some reason you're listening and you don't have a sauna, get in touch. So, you know, I mean, that's the number one reason people choose our saunas, is for reduced pain and to get some relief specifically from osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis. So get in the sauna. And it's all about increasing that circulation. Going from hot to cold, I talk a lot about cold showers. Either going from the sauna to a cold shower or just general cold water immersion. Go for a swim in the beach if you're lucky enough to live near the beach. There's heat shock proteins associated with getting in the sauna, which help regenerate new cells, fix some cells that are damaged, and cold water immersion does a very similar thing. You're also going to come out feeling great. You get a boost of norepinephrine and dopamine in the bloodstream. That's why you have that balanced calmness when you come out of a sauna, or even when you come out of an ice bath. Personally, I can't do the ice bath, but I can do a cold shower. So all that stuff is really going to help with inflammation. Wim Hof talks about cold water immersion literally pushing inflammation out of the nervous system. I don't quite understand the mechanism there, but I certainly know I feel better after a cold bath. And there's a lot of science around cold water immersion and reduction in inflammation. Also some essential oils. There's a really cool app from Young Living called Ref Guide 4. Don't ask me why. I'm looking at that here now. Some anti-inflammatory oils that you can use topically are oregano, mountain savory, thyme, frankincense, melaleuca, eucalyptus, and some to diffuse are black pepper, blue cypress, blue tansy, that's interesting, and citronella. They specifically say oils that are high in carvacrol, which is a phenol. So there's some oils there as well. So those are some ways that we can help with the pain. Hello, Amy. Yeah, cold shower before the sauna and after, both. Give it a crack. I'll get to some of those questions right at the end. So those are how to deal with some of the pain. Now, how to reduce the cause of inflammation. Hydration. If we look at all of the areas of health, we need to be hydrated, we need to eat well, we need to exercise, we need to sleep, we need to do things we love. And what I've learned through my brief but detailed and deep journey into health is we all actually know the answers. We all know we should exercise, we all know we need good sleep, we all know we need to eat well, but sometimes we don't do that. Sometimes we need to kick up the butt to get doing it. So with water, for every 22 kilos of body weight, 1 liter per day before exercise. So I weigh 66 kilos, I drink 3 liters. And if I'm having a sauna or if I'm exercising, then I'm having at least another 1.5 liters. Yes, you're going to be peeing a lot. We're going to talk briefly about the channels of detox. Urinating is one of them. It's good to pee. Yes, it's a pain in the middle of the night, but I'm peeing out toxins and I'm happy about that. So water, super, super important. Also, in terms of water and hydration, hydrating foods like watermelon, any form of melon, any form of fruit, citrus fruit, it's all very, very high in water content, and that's going to bring hydration into the body. Remember, if we're eating a packet of corn chips, it needs to come out the other end, and I don't want it coming out the same dryness and sharpness that it went in, right? So think about that when you're eating foods. If it's really, really dry, your body needs to put a whole bunch of hydration into that just to get it out. Our brain drains 1 liter of water every day and it wants it to be replaced. So of those 3 liters I'm having, 1 liter is just going here. The other liter is probably just going into getting everything out the other end. So it goes very quickly, which is why it is easy to become dehydrated. And that's why good hydration means you are drinking a fair bit of water. I have a 2 liter jug at work like this. I know when I get to work, I fill it up and then it needs to be finished by the end of the day. Just for the record, this is number 2. So super, super important. In terms of foods, raw foods, fruits, greens, we talked a little bit earlier about fake foods. So we don't want to be bringing in chips, anything acidic like that we want to steer clear from. We don't want crustaceans or too much seafood. We want to be sticking to raw fruits would be great, especially for breakfast. So easy to bring some raw fruits in. Maybe it's an apple, maybe it's a banana. That's up to you. I like breaking my fast with a melon every day to bring some hydration in. And greens, whole foods, what we would have used to have eaten before things got a bit crazy in the world that we live in. So yeah, try and steer clear of dairy in particular, very, very acidic, and meat also. There have been studies showing that meat can bring some unwanted inflammation into the body. So there's that to sort of understand there. Also some grains, grains don't go particularly well and can cause a bit of an inflammatory response in the body. Bringing in antioxidants, things like berries, anything dark with anthocyanins, high in antioxidants. So you know, you're getting like your silver beets, that really dark green, your kales, you know, just cut them, fry them up with some garlic, you know, just delicious. So whole foods, super, super important. And it's a way of alkalining the body, which I think we're just about to cover. Yeah, deep breathing, obviously going outside, going on that walk, taking in some deep breaths. Maybe you're just sitting, you're doing some deep breathing. Breathe in for 7 seconds, hold for 7, out for 7, hold for 7. Do that 7 times. That is a way of alkalizing the body. If we want to talk about alkalizing, we want to raise the pH of our body. So we want to steer clear of acidic things, acidic foods, acidic drinks like soft drink. We want our pH between like a 7, 8, or even a 9 if you're super, super crazy. So yeah, steering clear of those cheeses, seafoods, crustaceans, meats, soft drinks, colors, flavors, anything unnatural, and sticking with things that are natural, things that are in nature, things that are, you know, you just know that they're good for you, whether you want to eat them or not. That old broccoli saying, you know, broccoli's great, get into it. Doing some deep breathing is going to help raise our pH as well. When we raise our pH, cancer cells die. Cancer thrives in an acidic, oxygen depleted environment. So by bringing oxygen in, you know, do that for 10 minutes, do deep breathing for 10 minutes and see how you feel afterwards. You feel great. Do it in the sauna and you'll feel even better. Doing some meditation in the sauna, doing some deep breathing, sweating all over yourself can be a challenge, but it's something special. And obviously we want to reduce the toxins in our environment as well. So reducing household cleaners and plastics, chemical laden toothpaste, those kind of things, they all play a role in increasing the burden of toxins on the body. So if you reduce the crap coming in and we help the crap coming out, then we're going to reduce the burden of toxins on the body, and therefore we can reduce inflammation in the long run. Obviously we talked about movement, and lastly, just supporting the channels of detox. So we obviously need to be defecating, we need to be urinating, we need to be sweating and breathing. Those are the 4 ways our body can get stuff out. So supporting that, yes, considering doing things like enemas, considering doing things like body scrubs to help open up the skin, doing some deep breathing helps us expel toxins that way, and going pee regularly really helps as well. So supporting those mechanisms in the body is super, super important. Keep on moving. And lastly, the energetics around inflammation as well is, remember that it's not your fault. It's not your fault that you have, you know, that you have to deal with this and that you're having these problems. And you know, don't get angry at yourself, and know that you're on the right path. And yeah, be thankful for the life. And I mean, you guys are listening, you're tuning in, and you want to learn. And yeah, you know, that's great. That's the main bit. And thank yourself for doing that. Don't get angry at yourself. Don't get frustrated. You know, there's always a path forward. And yeah, the energetics around inflammation is always thinking it's you and it's your fault, and you know, that sort of thing. Something to consider. There's a great book by Ina Segal, The Secret Life of Wellness, which gets into that a little bit more. So very, very lastly, that's pretty much it, actually. That's pretty much it. So I'm going to read some of these questions really quickly. Thank you all for staying tuned in. Here we go. Talked about how much water. Ben, yep, 3 liters a day. Gail struggled to drink more than 2 liters a day. That's okay. 2 liters is better than half a liter. Oh, Ben, your sauna's arriving soon. That's great. Amy, I spoke briefly about the cold shower. Yeah. Mel, doTERRA oils. I don't know what doTERRA are doing. I feel like they're taking over the world. Um, but yes, doTERRA, they're good quality oil. So yeah, go down that path if you like. Amy, generally with inflammation, a good sauna session would be 30 to 45 minutes, between 45 and 55 degrees. We don't want to be overworking the body too much and putting it in a stress state, because that can be a bit counterproductive. So just that general sort of sauna session is good. Maybe bring some nice tea in there, which we spoke about a little bit, to, you know, just get the most out of it and enjoy. I hope that kind of helps. Thank you. Good. Thank you. Okay, cool. Well, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. It's been an absolute pleasure and an honor to be able to pass this information on to you. I hope that you've gotten something useful out of it. And I'd love your feedback more than anything, because for me, I want to give you guys what you're after in terms of information and content and anything to help you continue to inspire to look after yourself, because that's what it's all about for me. If I can help one person just change 1% of their life in the right direction, then I've won, and I'm happy and I'm fulfilled. So please let me know what you thought. How could we make this better? How could I deliver more to you? What other content would you like to see? Do you want me to get more plants? Should we have 5 salt lamps? What other topics would you like me to cover? I've got lots of ideas, but I'd love what you guys, and this inflammation session was based on what you talked about. Would you like it to be longer? I definitely had to cut that short there, and we've still gone 10 minutes over time. So maybe it can be an hour-long session. Yeah, I'd love the feedback. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll get to all your messages at some stage, and have a great night. Happy saunaing. Pass on the message of good health, and I really appreciate it. So thank you.